If you've ever been in a season of life where you are growing your business, you're ready to scale, and yet there's something inside of you that just doesn't want to do more of what you're doing, doesn't feel inspired or lit up to do more of what you're doing, or somewhere just feels like the energy feels dense, the energy feels tense. You don't know why, because you love your business. You know your business is ready to bring on so much more, to serve so many more humans. Like you've got the strategy, you've got the message, or you've got the offer. And yet, after all the work you've put in to get to this point where you're ready to scale, where you're ready to build momentum, something is just feeling off. You might even find yourself beginning to go through a death and rebirth process. As we know in coaching, we all are going to be going through frequent death and rebirths. This is a very spiritual based business. Then this episode is for you. I recently found myself going through a massive transformation. I healed and cleared some really big beliefs that were causing very big secondary gains, some that were great, some that really had provided a big backbone to all of my success, all of my momentum, all of my ability to really show up big and bold and put my head down and do the work when it comes to my business. And when I cleared those beliefs, I had the most beautiful death and rebirth, unlike any other rebirth that I'd had before, where typically, it's been a long time of retraining my nervous system, but I used to go through rebirths and I would become contracted and it would be very difficult to show up in my business. And this time around, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about being in freeze or shutdown or anything like that, but really just I was almost like suspended between who I was becoming and who I used to be and figuring out how I wanted to relate to my business moving forward, right? This last year, we've launched the Sovereign CEO Academy. It has been amazing, and I have loved serving all of the women who have come through that space this past year and the impacts they've made. And one of the big themes, which ironically, because it's going to be a big part of this episode, is realignment, right? I love, and I always use this song in the comparison of like Ali Lohan. She has a song all the way around. It's Lindsay Lohan's little sister. And the lyrics say, I had to go all the way around just to get back to where I started from. And I see this with so many of my clients who go through death and rebirth. It's like they have the offer, they have the human they want to serve, but the energy is not right. And so we do all of this self-exploration, work on messaging, shadow work, hypnosis, healing until they come into right relationship with their offer. And we're doing this all the time. But the sooner that we can get really good about recognizing that if energy is stale or if energy is stagnant, something's not aligned. Okay. This doesn't just happen. But some of us are just so damn stubborn where we're like, okay, the energy's off. Let me try to force myself. Or the energy's off. Let me just try to double down or be more structured. Or, like we are trying to hack this thing we're experiencing when what I've really realized through this specific death and rebirth is that God slows you down because otherwise you wouldn't listen. So sometimes when you are resisting the thing, like the cliche saying, what you resist persists, like you're resisting the thing, you're resisting the lesson, you're resisting the code, you're not creating space for it to come through and to be reborn. So you're not going to be clearing this feeling. You're not going to be moving through it quickly. Okay, I said I was going to keep this episode short before I started it in my mind. So let's just dive into some of the big lessons that have been landing for me after taking this time to really let my body, let my creative channel reset. And I want to remind you that, like, your creative channel is the backbone to your business. And so sometimes part of this too is that your creative channel starts to feel like it's like a slave to you. And you do need to give your creative channel breaks. You do need to give your creative channel ability to fully recharge and to live life and to experience joy and to make stories so you have stories and experiences to tell. But I want to get into the things that really landed for me after giving myself adequate space to just really listen to God and what He wanted for me and where He wanted me to go next. Throughout my whole life, I've had this theme where it's not even about church. It's just like my individual relationship to God, where every time I've gotten away from that relationship, it's almost like God has sort of like checked me, like not in a messed up way, but it's just like my life gets harder because I'm not on the right path. I'm not in my own alignment, where very much I'm here to have this like spirit-led mission. And then life gets hard. And then I finally succumb to like, okay, God, source, like, I need you. I need you. It's easier with you. Like, why am I trying to do this by myself? And everything starts to get better. So for me personally, I have really learned, especially through this experience and this realignment, that that is the path for me. So that is one of the first things. It's one of the first lessons that I took away from this. And I got some notes here because this all came through for me in like a quick download. I think I have 5 codes here that I got from this. Is that right? Yes. Okay. I have 5 codes that came through for this. And I just absolutely know that these codes are going to change your life. So the first one is that I let God lead. Okay. My business and my programs, they're about letting source lead because again, like I just said, the truth is that it is so much harder when we try to work from our logical mind. When we surrender, when we keep our energy right and we keep our channel open, right? This is why the foods you eat, the exercise, the sunlight you get, they seem like minuscule. They're not. Okay. This is how you have the clearest channel to source and for the clearest downloads to come through and for your mission to move through you as opposed to by you, right? It's so easy to start leading a mission that like is just slightly off cue, right? It reminds me of that saying with like golfing. It's like even if you're like 1 degree off in the direction you hit the golf ball, like it will land so off track down on the golf course. And this is the same thing for your life, right? We really have to have awareness to our alignment so that we actually are leading the mission that God wants and intends for us to lead. So I check in with God for my alignment, whether it makes sense, whether it doesn't. Because when I am letting God be the leader, when I'm letting Source be the leader, not only is there always this like built in sense of protection, I also know that every decision I make is meant for me. Right? I'm not sitting there blaming myself, getting upset at my failures, feeling bad for something that's happened. I'm just like, God asked me to take this path. There's something here I needed to learn. I know I'm in the right place. And all I have to do is just keep trusting Source to lead me to my next step. When you do this, the amount of times I've heard women say, like, they really started to pray for God to give them responsibility, for God to let the movement move for them to be available to be moved through, and then their businesses blew up. It's just literally so many, so many. So the next one is leading from a more feminine place. So here's the thing. I used to be the queen of push and force and discipline. Okay, I'm a Capricorn over here. I'm a true Capricorn. I think I'm like 29.5 degrees. I'm like the highest amount of Capricorn you could be in my sun sign. Your girl knows how to do the steady Yeti, climb the mountaintop like the Billy Goat. Like, I know how to do it through discipline, okay? I've done that through several areas of my life, the push, the force. Like, I'm gonna make it happen. And I used to think that was like really great that I could do that. And now I realize that that is so not good for my energy. Right? I would so rather go slow and take meaningful action temporarily, knowing that in the long run, I'm going to go further because I'm actually in alignment. So, again, remembering this golf ball analogy, like if I'm getting out of alignment, I have to then crawl my way back to my alignment. If I am willing to slow down, to listen to God, more codes will drop in and ultimately I will be able to go faster, right? There's this book, it says, like, you go alone, you'll go faster, but when you go together, you go slower, but you go further. And that could not be more true. When you go a little bit slower, but really listening to God, really listening to your alignment, in the end, you will always go farther because you're pursuing what is meant for you. So you're not doing this like build tower moment, right? If you make a decision to follow a path that's not meant for you, trust God will realign you. You will have a tower moment, potentially a massive tower moment. And that's okay because literally every single thing is always happening for you. However, could you have saved yourself some of the struggle if you would have just listened, right? My therapist is always saying, Leah, you can't try to force doors open that aren't ready to open. Like they will open when they are meant to. And that has just been such like a grounding phrase and an anchoring place for me to lean into and rely on of like, it's not opening yet. Okay, I'm going to be patient. I can slow down just a little bit, but I trust that ultimately I'm going to go so much further because of this. So, yeah, really, really trusting that it is okay to lead with feminine grace. And also that, like, sometimes when you're in your feminine, you're going to be going faster than ever because you're lit up and you're excited and trust those moments too. I'm no longer in this freaking sprints to create the things that I want to create in my business. And I just really trust that every single part of my life and my business is going to unfold on its perfect timeline, and that I'm going to be happier when I am not pushing, when I am not forcing, but when I am really truly living to be present and grateful and experience and appreciate the fruits of where I am right now and living my life right now. And because inevitably I will get to those places, forcing does not do anything except for rob you from your present moment. So remember this. The third thing is creating a business that exceeds the industry. Okay, this is so important. We can get so stuck in the little bubble of the coaching world and the coaching matrix that we are literally recreating or rejoining a different version of the matrix. When you commit to building something outside of that, something so much bigger than yourself, a movement that serves your current community, that you can be a pillar in your current community, that you have a podcast or YouTube or whatever it is, when you expand beyond this like little industry in the echo chamber, you give yourself such a break when it comes to your creativity too, because coaching is the only place that's an echo chamber. Okay. When I had a jewelry business, there was like no one for me to compare to. There was maybe one other person I could see that I was like, oh, okay, like I could take some tips or some pointers from that. But coaching is very much like we get in this like dogma of like there's a right way to do it. And there's frameworks and things that can help you do it like better, but ultimately like they only work when you make them your own way and you are true to your own energetic signature and energetic codes. So it's super important. I can't even pretend to say that I have all the answers of how I plan to do this. I'm hoping to do more in-person work. I definitely want to expand to different platforms, and just so yeah, like really do my own thing. I know I've invested over 100,000 plus dollars into my business, probably like 130 grand at this point, 140 grand. And it was paramount that I did that. I am a firm believer the first 2 years of your business, every single dollar you should pretty much be reinvesting. Trust again the timeline you're on, develop the skills, right? Like Hermosi always says the S in me 500 or S&P 500, S&Me 500, you are your greatest investment. I have so many skill sets from those experiences, and more than like just the investments that you make, but what you really learn from the people, like through their modeling, right? Less about what they're teaching and more through the way they are delivering things, how they're serving you, their customer service, their email funnels, like all of the things. Be taking all of that in, but keep in mind that your vision, your business is meant to go so much further than just this industry. So I remember when I first started coaching with my very first business coach, I was showing her coaches like Rachel Hollis and people like who had books and like product lines. And I was like, I want to do this. And she was like, okay, yes. And these people were coaches first. They had programs first. They established their footing there and then they expanded beyond. So that is really the season that I am in right now. And I'm so excited to explore that with you guys and let you see me experiment and try new things and probably fail on some things and just be more authentic and more honest in that. In the last 2 years, I've been doing deep, deep work behind the scenes and been really like tight lipped on a lot of it because I kind of needed that space to privately process. And I've had a huge awakening that honesty and authenticity feels so much better. Like for me personally, there's no right way to do it. Some people like they don't like to be very personal. They like to keep it literally to like the transformation. I want to create a community of circular leadership. Like, how am I really helping you if I just position myself as this expert who's like never had a hard thing in her entire fucking life? Like, that does not show you. People say that shows them what's possible. Personally, like, I don't think it does. I think what shows you it's possible is when I'm like, hey, I have like severe ADHD. I've had trauma. I am highly sensitive. My nervous system sometimes has a mind of its own. And this is how I overcame that. This is how I befriended my nervous system and my body. And I healed all of these things so that I could become this woman. Those are going to be my people. So I am so excited to be restabilized, re anchored in the truth of who I am and able to share more publicly about everything that's been sort of happening behind the scenes. And with that, that brings me to number 4, which is creating circular leadership. This whole like guru thing, I'm just not about it. Okay. Like, there are a lot of people who come into this world and they have the best intentions and they want to change lives, and then they hire coaches who are just really good at marketing and really good at sales, and they don't really have a spiritual mission placed on their heart. Um, and again, you just jump into another version of the coaching matrix, and then you wonder why it feels stuffy and it just feels disheartening, and you don't feel like yourself, and you feel like you have to try to be something, or you have to put on, and you can't just show up and be you. And like, yes, there's elements to building a brand, but the truth is that like a real solid brand is built when you bring people along with you and you are willing to be honest and vulnerable so people have buy-in with you, right? If people are not buying into you through your honesty and they're just buying into you through your positioning, then the reason they're buying into your positioning is likely because you are really good at just making them feel lack. You are really good at playing the mean girl. Like I'm not to say all the time, there's definitely coaches who just are amazing at messaging. They really know their ideal client, but I wouldn't say that that's the norm in this industry. So I want to speak to that because I know if I felt it, if I've seen it, if I have fallen into it because areas that I had not healed, areas that I had not claimed my power, then I know so many of you are seeing it and feeling it too. And the industry has not created a safe space for us to talk about that. And so when we can't talk about it, we create shame. And when you're experiencing shame, you are more likely to be dysregulated, to hide, to not feel like you can truly show up as yourself and claim your power. So fuck the shame. We're not doing that. And if you see it, you feel free to say something. That's what I have to say. I mean, don't show up and like air your dirty laundry. Don't show up and like show people your journal or your diary. But when it's alchemized and when you have empowerment behind it, be willing to speak out to what you see is wrong and right. I think that's super important. And that really helps people understand what you stand for. Right now, I'm really shifting my community to be so vitality and value based. Like, I really want to help women. I'm here to help women build vitality and value based brands, meaning you feel good. You go into feminine seasons if you need to, and we hold you in that because we know you come out stronger and more on top at the end of it, but also value driven. Like, you really have to ask, is the way I'm leading my business aligned for me? Fuck what anyone else says. If you don't build in an alignment, you're not going to feel good maintaining it, which will bring us to our last one here. But yeah, you've got to feel good about your business if you want to scale it, or it's going to become such a like teeth pulling process. Okay, so build businesses that you're in love with from the start. Doesn't mean you won't experiment, and sometimes you have to push yourself past your capacity in order to expand your capacity. Sometimes you will try things and you're going to be like, hey, I don't love them. It doesn't mean give up immediately. Give things you don't like a try, but also really developing strong masculine, strong, grounded, healed feminine so we can build like divine union in our business is everything. And until you've healed that, you might have some people you hire for the wrong reasons. You might have sometimes where you do things that you shouldn't have kept doing, or you don't try things what you should have tried, because if you would have just gave it a chance to try it on, get good at it, and then make it your own, it would feel lighter. It would feel good, right? Messaging, content creation used to be heavy for me. And something that I've always told my girls is to do sprints where you are really working out the muscle, and it's literally just about the reps. Because if you don't put in the reps to develop the skill, you will never have enough structure to the skill to make it your own. And sometimes it's when you make it your own, that's what's required for it to start to feel good. So you can't immediately like put off or discount something that doesn't at first feel good. But again, this is where the frequent realignment and check-ins are very important. And this is also where like the more you get to know yourself, the more you heal on this path, the easier that this is going to get. So the last one here, I am leading my business from a place of feminine goals and manifestation. So it's about how I feel, because women have to feel good to do good, right? Before it was like, I want this many clients. I want, this much money. Those are the byproduct when I am a woman that is in love with my life and with my business. So, that's where it comes into this scaling concept. Scaling your business is literally creating more of what you already have. So if you do not love your business right now, you're absolutely going to sabotage trying to scale your business because it's just more of what you're already doing. If you're scaling a business that you love, doing more of what you love is exciting. Okay. So be also honest with your nervous system capacity right now. Okay. I actually think the number one thing that stands in the way of women building their business is capacity. Whether it's because they haven't put in enough reps, whether it's because their energy and their alignment is out of whack, whether they are not in full alignment with, the woman they serve and the message that they have, so that they don't have the clarity. It all comes down to the energetic capacity in their body and alignment and energy and vitality before strategy. And when you have all of these pieces, scaling becomes easy. Building a personal brand becomes easy. So yeah, let's just be real. So many of us have tried to scale something. I know you have more than likely tried to scale your business more than once, right? How many times do we put in all this energy, all this effort, and we start to see momentum, and then like there's just something that happens that sort of like pulls the switch, pulls the cord, flips the switch, shorts the circuit, and it's because something's out of alignment, or it's a capacity thing, right? Like you're scaling something and you're realizing, oh, when I scale this much of this thing, it doesn't feel good, or I'm not fully supported, so it's too much for my nervous system, or my schedule's overloaded, so it's too much for my nervous system, or I haven't developed enough muscle memory of the reps and things that need to be put in daily, where it's taking a lot, right? Our reticular activating system can hold space for 7 things plus or minus 2. So for example, learning to drive a car. When you first try to drive a car, adjusting your car door, your car mirror while you're driving, or like playing music and finding the song while you're driving was a lot. Okay. So when we're honest about what it takes to build a business, which is like having the system set up, being able to productively put in place a repeating sales system, having a content system, right? Particularly coaching is a tiring at times business, right? I don't know where the passive income thing came from, because as much as we love coaching, it is an energy game, and it can be energy intensive in the best way when it is aligned. But putting out constant marketing content on Instagram and building relationships is an ongoing process. It requires tip-top vitality and you really feeling good. So, yeah, or you're putting rules on yourself. Like, I have to do it like this, girl, or like you're trying so hard to fit into the box of how to do the strategy or the system right. And that is very much an identity game, right? We've got to heal the parts of you that are playing into the good girl, that need approval, that need validation, that are in sort of like a fawn state, maybe with the potential coach that you're working with. That maybe you've put yourself in a lesser position in your mind, and so you feel like, yeah, you want to follow the rules, you want to do it the most right way, and otherwise you think it's not going to work. And that we've got to break through that so that you can really be authentic and show up as your true self every day. So all right, let's wrap this up today, you guys. So I am very much in the business of scaling still. I'm very much in the business of helping people create more money and more freedom, but we're definitely recalibrating over here. We're coming into a deeper alignment where it's not just about helping you create money. It's about helping you really stay true to your mission, really true to your values, really making frequent adjustments to honor your energy in the season of life you're in. And helping you build this legacy, but that actually adds to your life. For a long time, I wasn't honest with myself. I would see these like celebrity type coaches who were speaking at events all the time and having retreats and had like hundreds of women in their container. And when I think about my life doing that and being on this hustle schedule, I think absolutely fuck no. I want to serve hundreds of women, but imagining the energetic capacity to be like the guru on a pedestal exhausts me. Okay. I want to sit in circular leadership with women who are honest and authentic and who have humility in their path to success, which that should have been number 6, right? Because bringing humility and the humanness to what it means to build business, that it's not always perfect, that sometimes it's hard, that we really go through big and deep and difficult identity shifts, and there's a lot of honesty involved. And that on the other side of all that, you will become a woman that you are madly in love with. Okay. And that is the truth coming from a girly who didn't used to love herself. Okay. Didn't used to have boundaries or respect herself, who didn't have relationships with people who honored or respected or were loyal to me. And that was really a reflection of my beliefs of myself. And even in partnership, just dating people who weren't really ready to claim me and who were emotionally unavailable. And I'm so fucking proud of the work I've done over the last few years to heal all of those things. And now I'm getting totally sidetracked and on a tangent, but safety is so huge. Okay, that's another thing that besides the alignment is if you don't feel fully safe to have the things you desire, that's where we need to start. So, I'm just looking down here, making sure I didn't forget anything else. Yeah, just building from this hustle and this misalignment. It was costing me a lot. It was costing me my relationships. I just had this. I see many of my clients. Actually, I would say all of my clients. Okay, all of my clients. This is not something that I have marketed or advertised as like my ideal client avatar, but all of my clients who have come into my world, there's this energy of like life is on hold until the business is successful. And you know what I've done these last 2 years? I stopped making my success in life about the business. I spent the last 2 years making the rest of my life everything I could dream of, everything that I loved, and healing the parts of me that maybe stopped me from experiencing the feeling now, even though very much it was available to me now, right? Everything you want is a feeling that is available to you now. Have you learned how to access it? And if you are trying to avoid where you are right now, that very much tells me that there's actually everything you need right here, right now, for you to alchemize and heal, for you to make the choices to become in a more comfortable, supportive position so you can take the pressure and the stress off of your business and you can genuinely lead from impact. You can genuinely lead from your heart and the change that you wish to be and see in the world. This has been paramount for the way that I lead my business. So now there's no pressure on my business anymore. I've bought the house, I have the car, I replaced things in my wardrobe. And don't get me wrong, those things took work, okay? This has been an ongoing journey developing all these areas of my life. It's mostly been on behalf of all the internal work where it opened up the door for me to take risks and say yes to myself in all areas of my life. And yeah, your business is a baby, you know. You don't put pressure on your baby to walk before they're ready to walk. You're not like, you stupid baby, why aren't you walking yet? You're like, I love you, and you are such a beautiful perfect creation. And I am just here to love you and nurture you. And I cannot wait to see who you become. Okay. And that is the energy we need to have behind our business. We need to be less self focused, right? Less ego driven, less of like, yeah, this selfish egocentric focus and more focused on everybody else. And a lot of people in this world, and maybe you too, and maybe hearing this is the first time you're recognizing it, but there's maybe parts of you that aren't healed. There's attention or validation or love that you didn't receive, that you're not giving to yourself, that you are desiring to receive from your business. And your business can't thrive when that energy is the driver. It has to come from service and it has to come from impact. So I love you guys so much. If you are ready to create a value driven, vitality focused life and business where there's genuine balance, like you know you're making money, you have a system that is supporting your nervous system and the woman that you are, that's providing you the healing and the support and the sisterhood that you actually need to transcend these parts that are going to come up in the face of building your business, and a place where you can really have deep support in the deepest level of alignment, but also where your nervous system feels really regulated because you have the systems, you have the strategy. You know, as an ADHD girly, a highly sensitive person myself, and somebody who has had a lot of healing, I love the healing work, so I'm not going to get rid of or let go of my death and rebirth processes anytime soon. I needed a business that could hold me. Okay, not a strategy that I had to constantly like jog and hustle and sprint to keep up with. No, I needed a business system that I could pretty much do no matter what season of life I was in, where I would create stackable cash and and know that I could effortlessly and easily maintain it. Right now, my business runs on just like 2, max 3 hours a day, and it brings in organic inquiries through the steps that I take. And there is no greater feeling than people just organically messaging you and you really speaking to the people that need your work and them asking you how they can go deeper in your world. So, if this is something you desire to have women in your inbox to be selling your programs behind the scenes without ever having a live launch, heck, even selling women into your programs before they're built, before you're even talking about them publicly, then the Sovereign CEO Academy is for you. And yeah, let's start there. I also have a content intensive where you get 3 days in Voxer with me. We go through your messaging and your content system to help you refine that. And, that would also give you a glimpse of just how simple this path can be for you and just how these few tweaks in the way you're showing up online can really increase the revenue that you're bringing in and bring more regulation to your nervous system so you can be going to get your nails done on a Wednesday afternoon. So you can be working from home. So you can be replacing your yearly salary in a few months of the year. All of these things are possible when you build a business that works for you and that your nervous system is accepting of. So, with so much love, if you are interested in this, shoot me a DM. I always love to hear your takeaways. If something in this hit for you and you're like, hey, this is me, I needed this today, please don't be a stranger. And we'll talk to you guys soon. So much love.